You know, if you've ever played a Nintendo game or seen a Studio Ghibli film, you've probably come across the Tanuki, right? The Japanese raccoon dog. They're usually shown as these cute, kind of goofy, and maybe a little mischievous characters. But what if I told you that in the classic folklore, they are something else entirely, something much, much darker? Okay, let's get into it.
So on one side, you have the lovable furballs we all know from pop culture. But then you look at the traditional Japanese stories, and whoa, it's a completely different picture. In these old tales, an ancient tanuki is a master of dark magic, a shapeshifter that literally feeds on human fear. Its whole power depends on finding the cracks in your mind, your doubt, your panic, and using them to cook up these illusions that feel terrifyingly real.
So the big question is, how in the world do you fight a monster that attacks your mind itself? Well, a fantastic answer comes from this 17th century collection of cautionary tales. It tells the story of Zhao Xi, a brilliant and highly respected scholar from the Ming Dynasty in China, whose very quiet evening of study was about to get, well, interrupted.
So, I want you to picture the scene. It's a silent room. The only light is from a single flickering candle. Zhu Ji is just completely lost in his books. The rest of the world has faded away as he focuses with total concentration on the words in front of him. The whole vibe is just perfect peace, study, and calm.
And then, just shattering that peace, this happens. A massive, hairy hand silently slides through the open window. It is a pure nightmare image, something designed to cause absolute panic as it reaches out for our unsuspecting scholar. Now, this is the really wild part. It's all about Zhu Ji's reaction, or more like his complete lack of one. He sees this monstrous hand coming right for his face, and he does absolutely nothing. No scream, no shock. He doesn't even jump back from his desk. He just stays perfectly still, completely composed.
So, instead of panicking, Zhou Ji decides to act. But his response isn't about violence or fear at all. He chooses to meet this supernatural threat with the one tool he has mastered better than anyone else, his mind.
Let's just walk through this incredible moment. First, he calmly picks up his vermilion brush. That's the red ink pen scholars would use for their notes. Then, he gently takes the monster's hand, and right there in its palm, he paints a single character, the one for flower. And after all that, he just turns back to his book as if nothing remotely interesting just happened.
Fast forward to the next morning, and the mystery is solved. Outside his window is the creature, an ancient tanuki, and it's actually weeping. That giant hand from the night before now has this glowing red character painted on its palm, and no matter what magic it tries, it can't get it off.
And that's when the monster begs the scholar for help, and we finally get the big secret. It admits, yeah, I can change my shape, I can create illusions, but I have no power against what you wrote. And why? Because Zhao Ji didn't just write with ink, he wrote with a focused and righteous mind. An inner strength that was just way, way more powerful than any dark magic.
So let's really dig into the philosophy behind this, because it's fascinating. The guy who wrote the commentary for the story, a scholar named Yamaoka Genrin, explains that this wasn't just some clever trick. It actually reveals a fundamental truth about where real power comes from.
And here's the core concept, the righteous mind, or seishin in Japanese. Genrin explains that yokai magic, or really any external force that preys on fear, can only get to you if your own mind has those cracks, doubt, confusion, terror. But a mind that is strong, focused, and unwavering, it creates this kind of invisible shield. The illusions literally have nothing to latch onto, and so they just fall apart.
And what's so cool is how this mental shield can be built through completely different paths in life. For a warrior, that shield is forged from unbreakable courage in the face of danger. For a scholar like Zhu Ji, it's logic and a deep, deep understanding of the world. And for a monk, it's that profound inner peace that comes from spiritual discipline. All totally different paths, all leading to the exact same place, immense inner strength.
So what's the big takeaway from this incredible story? Well, it suggests that the most powerful force in any situation isn't what's happening outside of us, it's what's happening within us. When it comes down to it, the story of Zhu Ji teaches us that real power isn't about creating illusions or changing your shape. The true magic is building an inner calm, a focus so absolute and a spirit so unshakable that the monsters of the world, both the real ones and the ones in your head, have zero power over you. In fact, they might even become afraid of you. Which leaves us with a final, pretty powerful question to think about. In a world full of things that try to make us scared or make us doubt ourselves, what part of your mind is so strong that it's become your unbreakable shield? What monster is afraid of you?